I'm reminded of a panel discussion I did recently with some business leaders, and yeah, we asked them to think about their own biases, their own bias, how their personal preferences, and then how, because you've talked about your personal preferences there, but it sounds like you've got a good awareness of that. I'd just be curious about how you think either your personal preferences, maybe did it were you biased then towards what you thought was best for the organization, or how did you work through that and guide the business in the way that you think is best for success, right? But I just was curious, how did you play with that about your own personal preferences and then trying to get the right balance for everyone?
Yeah, I don't have too many strengths. One of my strengths is understanding I have a lot of weaknesses, and that my opinion is not always the right one. And so I think a lot of the time I know in myself when I'm doing something, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way to do it. So I'm very much, when I work with, I need to work with other people, and I need to work with different people than myself so I can gather a broad view of opinions, because I know that, I'm very conscious of my own very many shortcomings as well. So I think in terms of, did it shape it? Yeah, probably in the first couple of weeks. You over-orientate to getting stuck in, and I want to talk to people all the time. So I'm like, hey, let's have 3,000 calls a week. And then people are like, whoa, this is a lot, Adam, and I don't need to speak to you that much. And so I think, yeah, for sure, at the start, there was an over-orientation. Then when you sort of learn that, hold on a sec, this is wrong, you probably twist back a little bit too far the other way, and you're like, go and do your stuff. Off you go. And I think that from my perspective, to stop the bias, and look, there's probably unconscious bias in there to a certain extent, but I think to stop the bias, it's really trying to take, really trying to understand the people and what works for them. And then we have made a lot of data-driven decisions from the anatomy of work, from the internal surveys that we do, and that really shapes our business. We are big in terms of internal surveys, and not just surveys for the sake of it. We do an engagement survey at least every 6 months, and that becomes almost like a North Star that we then drive towards, like based on the feedback from the teams. And that's what I'm more interested in, is the feedback from the teams than my own personal opinion.